I am Hannah, 35 years old, and raising my two kids Emma and Noah on my own since my husband passed. This Christmas morning started with excitement in our small home. The kids raced to put on their holiday outfits, eager to see their Aunt Lauren and Uncle Daniel. I knocked on Lauren's door balancing a homemade apple pie. She peeked through the curtains, then opened the door just enough to say, "Today is not a good day for your kind of energy." My children looked at me confused. I simply took their hands and said, "Let us go get pancakes. Where are you watching from today? Hit that subscribe button and join me as I unravel what happened next." "Mom, why was Aunt Lauren mad at us?" Emma asked as I drove toward IHOP, my knuckles white on the steering wheel. Noah was unusually quiet in his booster seat, his little face serious in the rearview mirror. I forced a smile that felt like cracked glass on my face. "Sometimes grown-ups have bad days, sweetie, even on Christmas." How could I explain to my 8-year-old daughter and 6-year-old son that their aunt, my own sister, had just rejected them on Christmas morning? The truth was, I barely understood it myself. Lauren, Daniel, and I used to be inseparable. Growing up in suburban Boston, we were the Martin kids, 3 peas in a pod despite our age differences. I was the oldest at 35 now. Lauren 3 years younger, and Daniel 5 years my junior. Our childhood photos showed 3 blonde heads, huddled together on every family vacation, every school event, every holiday morning. I remember teaching Lauren how to braid her hair when she was 7 and helping Daniel build his science fair projects. I was the one who bandaged their scraped knees and defended them from neighborhood bullies. We built snow forts together in winter and camped in the backyard during summer. Our bond seemed unbreakable. Then came the divorce. Mom and Dad split when I was 15, leaving Lauren at 12 and Daniel only 10. Mom took on extra shifts at the hospital where she worked as a nurse, and suddenly at 15, I became the default caretaker. I packed lunches, helped with homework, and made sure teeth were brushed and bedtimes observed. While other teenagers were going to football games and shopping at the mall, I was cooking dinner and checking math homework. I never resented it though. They were my siblings, and I loved them fiercely. When college came around, I chose the local state university so I could continue living at home, helping Mom with Lauren and Daniel. Meanwhile, Lauren blossomed into a confident, ambitious young woman who won a scholarship to a prestigious university 3 states away. Hannah always was the responsible one, people would say, as if it were a compliment and not a burden. I met James during my junior year of college. He was kind, steady, and understood my family commitments without complaint. We married when I was 24, after I finished my degree in education. Emma came along a year later, and Noah 2 years after that. We bought a modest house not far from my mother, and I began teaching part-time at the local elementary school. Our life wasn't extravagant, but it was filled with love and stability. James coached Noah's t-ball team on weekends and built Emma a reading nook in her bedroom. We hosted Sunday dinners for Mom Lauren when she was in town, and Daniel, who had stayed local and worked in IT. Then, without warning, our world shattered. James went for a run one autumn morning and never came home. A congenital heart condition no one knew about took him at 30. Emma was 4, Noah just 2. The following years blur together in my memory. Grief counseling, learning to be both mother and father, working full-time to keep our home, explaining to my children why Daddy would never come back. Through it all, Mom helped as much as her aging body allowed, and Daniel became my rock, showing up to fix leaky faucets and attend school plays when a male presence was needed. Lauren, though, grew increasingly distant. She had married Andrew, a financial analyst, and they lived what appeared to be a picture-perfect life in a colonial-style house with a manicured lawn. Her social media was filled with vacation photos and charity galas. When she did visit, her comments often carried subtle criticisms. "Have you thought about hiring a decorator? This place could use a woman's touch," she once said, apparently forgetting I was in fact a woman doing my best. "Emma's hair is so tangled. Do you need me to show you how to properly brush it?" Noah seems very energetic. Have you had him tested for ADHD? Each comment stung, but I brushed them off. Lauren had always been particular, and I told myself she meant well. Besides, we were family, and family stuck together. That was what Mom had always taught us, what I believed in my core. The tension came to a head when our grandmother passed away last year. Grandma Evelyn had been our safe harbor during the divorce and beyond. She left her modest savings split equally among the three of us, but her rental property, a charming 3-bedroom craftsman-style house, she left to all of us with a stipulation. I would manage it, and the income would be split 3 ways. Hannah has the most level head for business matters, her will stated. Lauren was furious. She had expected to receive the house outright, having hinted to Grandma about wanting to turn it into a vacation rental. Instead, when she and Andrew hit a rough financial patch after he was laid off 6 months ago, I suggested they move into Grandma's house temporarily. The rent would be fair market value, but they could defer payments until Andrew found new employment. It seemed like the perfect solution. They got affordable housing during a tough time, and the property stayed in the family. Daniel agreed it was fair. But as weeks turned into months, our grandmother's house became a battleground I never wanted. "These pancakes are super yummy," Noah said, snapping me back to the present. His face was sticky with syrup, a temporary smile replacing his earlier confusion. "Mom, is Christmas ruined now?" Emma asked quietly, always the perceptive one. I reached across the table and squeezed her small hand. "No, sweetheart. Christmas is wherever we make it. We are together, and that is what matters most." But inside, my heart was breaking. How had we gone from those 3 united children to this moment? My kids eating Christmas breakfast at IHOP because their aunt had shut the door in their faces. I cut Noah's pancakes into smaller pieces while trying to keep my hands from shaking. The IHOP was festively decorated, Christmas music playing softly overhead, families in holiday sweaters, chatting and laughing at nearby tables. I was doing my best to salvage the day, but my mind kept replaying that moment at the door. "Today is not a good day for your kind of energy." What did that even mean? What kind of energy did my children have besides childlike excitement about Christmas? Emma had spent hours making handmade cards for her aunt and uncle. Noah had wrapped his gift himself, a painted rock paperweight he was so proud of. Now those carefully prepared presents sat in gift bags on the floor of my car. The tension with Lauren had been building for months, maybe years, but I never expected it to affect the children this way. It started with small things. Lauren began missing our monthly family dinners, always with reasonable excuses: work commitments, social obligations, migraines. When she did attend, she would arrive late and leave early, spending most of the time on her phone. Then came the criticisms, increasingly biting. My teaching career was settling, according to Lauren. My parenting was either too strict or too lenient, depending on her mood. My house was too cluttered. My clothes too practical. My social life too non-existent. "You need to think about dating again, Hannah," she told me last Easter, as if I could just replace James, like upgrading a phone. "The kids need a father figure." "They have Daniel," I had replied. "And I am doing just fine on my own." That had earned me an eye roll and a muttered comment about being stuck in the past. When Andrew lost his job at the investment firm last summer, their perfect facade began to crack. Lauren called me in tears, admitting they had overextended themselves financially. The luxury SUV, the country club membership, the expensive vacations, all of it had been sustainable, only with too high incomes. Now they were drowning in debt, and their savings were depleted. Moving into Grandma Evelyn's house was supposed to be temporary. 3 months, Lauren had promised, until Andrew found a new position commensurate with his experience and education. I agreed to defer the rent until then, wanting to help my sister during a difficult time. The first month passed without incident. The second month, Lauren called to say Andrew had several promising leads, but nothing concrete yet. By the third month, my calls about their plans went straight to voicemail. 4 months in, I drove by the house and saw workers installing a hot tub in the backyard. When I questioned Lauren about spending money on luxuries while deferring rent, she became defensive. We need stress relief during this difficult time, Hannah. Not all of us want to live like monks. 5 months in, I sent a formal letter outlining the rental agreement and requesting they begin making payments, even partial ones, to show good faith. Lauren called me in tears, accusing me of being heartless and money-grubbing. "We are family," she kept saying, as if that excused everything. "Yes, we are," I had replied. "And Daniel and I are also family who should be receiving our share of the rental income. Mom could use her portion for her medications." The breaking point came at Thanksgiving. Mom hosted as always, and Lauren and Andrew arrived 2 hours late, missing the meal entirely. When they finally showed up, Lauren was wearing new designer boots and carrying a bag from an expensive boutique. "Sorry we are late," she announced. "The Black Friday sales were too good to miss." I said nothing, helping Mom bring out leftover turkey and fixings to reheat for them. But when Lauren made a cutting remark about Emma's homemade place cards having spelling errors, I felt something snap inside me. "They are 8 years old, Lauren," I said quietly. "Well, maybe if you spent more time on education and less time playing the martyr widow, she would be a better speller," Lauren had replied, with a smile that did not reach her eyes. The table went silent. Even Andrew looked uncomfortable. Daniel quickly changed the subject, playing peacemaker as always, but the damage was done. Later, I overheard Emma asking Noah if they were martyrs and what that meant. After that, I sent a formal notice, giving Lauren and Andrew 30 days to begin making rent payments or vacate the property. It was the hardest letter I ever had to write, but I felt I had no choice. They had been living rent-free for nearly 6 months, making expensive purchases while claiming financial hardship, and now, Lauren was publicly humiliating my children. 3 weeks had passed since then, with no response from Lauren. I had tried calling multiple times, left messages about working out a payment plan, even offered to reduce the rent temporarily. Nothing but silence. Until this morning, when she had looked through that window and seen us standing there with our Christmas gifts and homemade pie, and decided we were not welcome. "Mommy, why does Aunt Lauren not like us anymore?" Noah asked, his voice small, pulling me back to the present moment at IHOP. I blinked back, tears reaching across to wipe syrup from his chin. "Aunt Lauren is going through some grown-up problems right now, buddy. It does not have anything to do with you or Emma. She loves you very much." Even as I said it, I wondered if it was still true. The Lauren I grew up with, who had cried when Emma was born and taught Noah his ABCs, seemed to have disappeared somewhere along the way. My phone rang, interrupting my thoughts. Daniel's name flashed on the screen. "Hannah, what is going on?" My brother's voice was frantic. "Lauren just called me hysterical, saying you canceled her lease without warning, and they are going to be homeless for Christmas. Please tell me that is not true." I closed my eyes, the final piece clicking into place. So that was the story Lauren was telling. "Daniel, I need to drop the kids with you for an hour," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "We need to talk, and then I need to have a conversation with our sister." I sent the notice 3 weeks ago after 6 months of no rent payments. I explained to Daniel as we stood in his kitchen. Through the doorway, I could see Emma and Noah in the living room, with Daniel's girlfriend Megan decorating gingerbread men. "She told me you sent it yesterday on Christmas Eve." Daniel ran a hand through his hair, looking bewildered. "She said it came out of nowhere that you guys had an agreement." "We did have an agreement. They would live there temporarily while Andrew job hunted and then start paying rent. That was 6 months ago, Daniel. 6 months with no income from a property that is supposed to support all 3 of us plus help Mom." I showed him the certified mail receipt dated 3 weeks earlier, and the copies of the multiple messages I had sent trying to work things out. "They installed a hot tub, Daniel. Lauren has been shopping at high-end boutiques. Meanwhile, I had to pick up extra tutoring hours to cover Mom's new prescription costs that our rental income was supposed to handle." Daniel sank into a kitchen chair, processing everything. "I had no idea. Lauren and Andrew always seemed so put together. She told us he had found a new job 2 months ago. Well, that is news to me. And if it is true, why have they not paid a dime of rent? Why does Lauren ignore my calls and messages? I leaned against the counter, suddenly exhausted. And why did she turn us away on Christmas morning after we were explicitly invited for brunch last week? Daniel looked up sharply. You were invited. She told me you had declined because you were spending Christmas with James's parents. I laughed bitterly. James's parents moved to Arizona 3 years ago. We Skype with them on holidays. Lauren invited us for 11 o'clock brunch. I made a pie. A long silence stretched between us, as Daniel absorbed the level of deception. Finally he spoke. Go talk to her. I will watch the kids with Megan. They can help us make Christmas cookies. Are you sure I do not want to ruin your Christmas? Daniel gave me a sad smile. It is already not the Christmas any of us planned. Go. Sort this out. The kids will be fine here. I kissed Emma and Noah, explaining I needed to talk to Aunt Lauren about grown-up things, and would be back soon. They seemed content enough with Megan, who had already won them over, by letting them use extra frosting on their cookies. The drive to Grandma Evelyn's house, I still thought of it that way, not as Lauren and Andrew's, was short, but tense. I rehearsed what to say, how to remain calm, how to address years of mounting issues, without letting emotion override reason. All my planned speeches evaporated when Andrew opened the door, his face haggard. Hannah, he said, simply stepping aside to let me in. The house that had once been our grandmother's tidy, charming home was barely recognizable. Expensive furniture crowded the rooms, shopping bags littered the floors, and empty wine bottles clustered on the coffee table. In the living room, Lauren sat curled in an armchair, her makeup streaked with tears. How dare you show up here, she spat when she saw me. After what you did. After what I did, Lauren. You turned your own niece and nephew away on Christmas morning, after inviting us for brunch. Andrew cleared his throat. You invited them for brunch. You told me you were keeping Christmas small this year, just us. Lauren shot him a venomous look. Stay out of this, Andrew. No, I will not stay out of it anymore. Andrew's voice was firm. This has gone on too long. Your sister deserves the truth. What truth? I looked between them, confusion mounting. Andrew sighed heavily. We are not just struggling financially, Hannah. We are bankrupt. My layoff was just the beginning. Lauren has been hiding our financial situation from everyone, including me in some ways. You promised you would not tell them, Lauren shrieked, jumping to her feet. I promised a lot of things, Andrew replied wearily. But I cannot watch you destroy your family over pride and lies. He turned to me. Lauren has a spending problem. The layoff was real, but I found work again within 2 months, just not at the same salary. It should have been enough for us to live on comfortably and pay rent here. But Lauren kept spending, as if nothing had changed. You are betraying me, Lauren whispered, tears streaming down her face. No, you betrayed yourself, Andrew responded. And your family. I stood frozen, trying to process this new information. Why did you turn us away this morning, Lauren? The children were so excited to see you. Lauren looked away, her shoulders slumping. I had people coming over. Important people from Andrew's new firm. I told them we owned this house outright, that it was our family home. I could not have your kids running around asking questions about why they had not seen the house before, why their grandmother's furniture was gone. The casual cruelty of it stunned me into silence. There is more, Andrew said quietly. She has been using this house for entertaining networking parties, for my benefit supposedly. Though I never asked for that. There has been property damage that you do not know about. A broken window in the back bedroom. Water damage in the bathroom from an overflowing tub during a party. Stop telling her everything, Lauren shouted. She deserves to know where the rent money went, Lauren. Andrew shouted back, his composure finally breaking. Tell her about the credit cards maxed out on clothes and jewelry, and that designer handbag collection hidden in the guest closet. They glared at each other. Years of marriage, apparently disintegrating before my eyes. I felt like an intruder witnessing something intensely private, yet I could not leave without answers. "I need to understand," I said quietly. "When did this start, Lauren? When did I become the enemy?" Lauren laughed bitterly. "You were always so perfect, Hannah. The responsible one, the good daughter, the devoted mother. Do you have any idea what it is like living in your shadow? When James died, you even had the perfect tragedy, the ultimate excuse." Her words hit me like physical blows. Excuse. You think losing my husband, the father of my children, was an excuse? Everyone rallied around you. Poor Hannah, so strong, so brave. Meanwhile, I was just the shallow sister, with the nice house and fancy job. "That is how you saw yourself, not how any of us saw you," I replied, struggling to keep my voice level. "We were proud of your success, your ambition." "Then Grandma left you in charge of the property," Lauren continued, as if I had not spoken. "Not me, not the one with the business degree. You, the elementary school teacher. She left it to all of us with me as manager. There is a difference." Andrew cleared his throat. "There is something else you should know, Hannah. About this morning." A sense of dread filled me. "What about this morning?" "Lauren already had people here when you knocked. Her new friends from the country club," she told them. He hesitated, looking at Lauren, who had collapsed back into the armchair, face in her hands. "Told them what?" "She told them you were her housekeeper's daughter, trying to guilt her into a handout. That is why she said that thing about your energy. She was putting on a show for them." I felt physically ill. "You told people my children and I were servants begging for charity, on Christmas morning." Lauren said nothing, her silence confirming Andrew's words. "I found your eviction notice in the shredder," Andrew continued. "She never told me about it. Just like she never told me about all the messages you sent trying to work things out. I thought you had stopped speaking to us months ago because that is what Lauren told me." The room spun around me. Every memory of our childhood, our supposed bond, seemed to shimmer and distort like a mirage. "The truth," I said finally, my voice barely audible, "is that I never wanted to evict you. I wanted you to communicate with me, to acknowledge the agreement we made, to show some respect for our family, property, and relationship. But now I see that was never going to happen." I turned to leave, then stopped. "You have until January 1st to vacate the property as the notice stated. I will be selling the house." Lauren's head snapped up. "You cannot sell Grandma's house. It belongs to all of us." "Read the will again," I said tiredly. "As manager, I have the authority to sell if the arrangement becomes untenable. Daniel has already agreed it is for the best." As I walked out, I heard Andrew say quietly to Lauren, "I am moving out too. Tonight. This marriage is over." I sat in my car for a long time, unable to drive, unable to even cry. My phone buzzed with a text from Daniel. "Kids are fine. Take your time." But there was no time left to take. Whatever had broken between Lauren and me could not be fixed with time or distance, or even love. Some damage went too deep. "You mean Aunt Lauren pretended not to know us?" Emma's voice was small, her eyes wide with hurt and confusion. "We sat at Daniel's kitchen table, the children having milk and cookies, while Daniel and Megan cleaned up the baking mess. I had debated how much to tell them, but Emma had overheard snippets of my conversation with Daniel and was asking direct questions. I had always promised my children honesty, tailored to their age and understanding. "Aunt Lauren is having some very serious grown-up problems right now," I explained carefully. "Sometimes when adults feel scared or ashamed, they make bad choices." "Like lying?" Noah asked, his face serious. "Yes, like lying. Or like pretending things are different than they really are." Daniel sat down with us, his expression troubled. "Your mom and Aunt Lauren need some time apart to figure things out. But that does not change how much we all love you." My phone buzzed with a call from Andrew. I stepped into the living room to answer. "Hannah, I am so sorry," he began. "I should have seen what was happening sooner, should have stopped it." You are not responsible for Lauren's choices, I said, though part of me wanted to blame him too. I am moving to my brother's tonight. I have contacted a divorce attorney. His voice cracked. I found something you should see. Lauren has been posting things online on her private social accounts that you probably cannot see. Things about you and the kids. My stomach dropped. What kind of things? Mocking posts. About your widowhood. About your teaching job. About the children being, quote, undisciplined and poorly raised. There are photos, too, of damage to your grandmother's house that Lauren blamed on your kids during a previous visit, though I know they never caused it. I felt physically ill. Send them to me, I managed to say. Minutes later, my phone filled with screenshots. Lauren at parties in Grandma's house drinking and laughing with people I did not recognize. Captions like, living my best life in my new vacation home, and, so glad to be free of family drama. Close-up photos of a broken window with the caption, my sister's wild kids destroyed my property again. But worst of all was a post from this very morning. Had to turn away the charity case sister and her brats. Some nerve showing up uninvited and ruining my Christmas brunch for the country club board. Attached was a photo clearly taken through the window. Emma and Noah on our porch, their faces partially visible, gifts in hand. My children photographed and mocked on social media without their knowledge or mine. Daniel found me sitting on his sofa staring blankly at my phone. What is it? He asked. Then fell silent as I showed him the posts. She has gone too far, Hannah, he said finally. This is not just about money or jealousy anymore. This is harmful to the kids. I know, I whispered. I just cannot understand how we got here. How the sister who used to read me bedtime stories turned into someone who would hurt my children this way. Daniel put his arm around me, and for a moment, I let myself lean on him. Andrew called me too, he said. Told me about Lauren's gambling problem. I looked up, startled. Gambling? Daniel nodded grimly. Apparently it started after his layoff. Online at first, then casinos. He thinks she has lost at least $30,000. The pieces began to fit together. The desperate need for money, the erratic behavior, the mounting lies. She needs help, Hannah. Professional help. I know, I said, straightening up, but I cannot sacrifice my children's well-being to save her. No one is asking you to. My phone rang again. Lauren this time. I almost declined the call, but something made me answer. Please don't make us leave, she sobbed immediately. I have nowhere to go. Andrew is leaving me. Everyone is leaving me. You brought this on yourself, Lauren. I know I did. I know I will start paying rent. I promise. I will get help. Just please cancel the eviction notice. For a fleeting moment, I felt a twinge of pity. The desperation in her voice reminded me of the little girl who had crawled into my bed during thunderstorms. I cannot do that, Lauren. You have violated our trust too many times. You humiliated my children on Christmas morning and posted their photos online without permission, mocking them. There is no coming back from that. They are just stupid posts. I will delete them. Please, Hannah. I closed my eyes, steeling myself against her pleas. The decision is made. January 1st. When I hung up, Daniel was watching me with a mixture of sadness and respect. You did the right thing, he said quietly. Then why does it feel so awful? Because you are a good person who never wanted it to come to this. We were interrupted by Andrew arriving at Daniel's door. He looked years older than he had just hours ago. I wanted to apologize to the children, he said, and to drop off their Christmas presents before I leave. I nodded, allowing him in. Emma and Noah were cautious but polite, as Andrew gave them carefully wrapped gifts and apologized for the morning's confusion. They had always liked their Uncle Andrew, who taught Noah chess and remembered Emma's favorite ice cream flavor. After the children went to help, Megan set the table for an impromptu Christmas dinner. Andrew turned to Daniel and me. Lauren is spiraling, he said bluntly. I called her sister Kate to come stay with her tonight. She needs rehab for the gambling, and probably therapy for the spending, and lying too. Kate is coming. From Chicago, I asked, surprised. Kate was Lauren's college roommate, who had become like another sister to all of us. Andrew nodded. She has been worried about Lauren for months. Apparently Lauren has been borrowing money from her too, with increasingly bizarre excuses. Will you be okay? I asked him, surprising myself with the question. Andrew gave a sad smile. Eventually. I enabled this for too long, trying to maintain appearances, trying to be the husband she wanted. I have my own amends to make. After he left, I helped Daniel and Megan prepare a simple Christmas dinner. The children slowly relaxed, especially when Daniel brought out old board games for after the meal. As I watched Noah laughing at Daniel's silly charades performance, and Emma deep in conversation with Megan about her science project, I felt something shift inside me. This was family too, imperfect and pieced together but real and present. Later, after we had thanked Daniel and Megan and driven home, I tucked the children into bed. Emma asked the question I had been dreading. Is Aunt Lauren going to be okay, Mom? I sat on the edge of her bed, choosing my words carefully. Aunt Lauren is going through a very hard time right now. She has made some big mistakes and needs special help to get better. We are going to love her from a distance for a while. Emma considered this, like when Noah had chicken pox, and we had to love him through the bedroom door. I smiled despite everything. Something like that. Sometimes the kindest thing we can do for someone we love is to give them space to get better while making sure they get the right help. Will we ever have Christmas with her again? I hope so, sweetheart, but it might take some time. As I closed Emma's door, I found Noah waiting in the hallway in his dinosaur pajamas. Mommy, I did not give Aunt Lauren her present, he said, his lower lip trembling. I knelt to his level. I know, buddy. We can save it for another time. He thought about this, then nodded seriously. When she feels better. When she is not mad at us anymore. Aunt Lauren is not really mad at you, Noah. She is mad at herself, and sometimes that is the hardest kind of mad to fix. He threw his small arms around my neck. I love you, even when I am mad, he whispered. I know you do, I whispered back, holding him tight. That is what family is supposed to be. The day after Christmas dawned bright and cold. I awoke to find Emma and Noah already up playing quietly with their new toys beneath our modest Christmas tree. For a moment I simply watched them, my daughter with her serious face as she figured out her new science kit, my son making his toy dinosaurs dance across the carpet. These two resilient souls were my true gifts, my real family legacy. Whatever happened with Lauren, I needed to protect their tender hearts, while teaching them that family love could withstand hard truths. Good morning, Christmas celebrators, I said, making them both look up with smiles. Who wants pancakes for breakfast? Again? Emma giggled. We had pancakes yesterday. Well, today we can have them in fun shapes. At home. In our pajamas. This was met with enthusiastic approval. As I mixed batter and heated the griddle, my phone buzzed repeatedly with texts. Kate had arrived to stay with Lauren. Andrew had moved to his brother's house. Daniel and Megan were checking in on us. And Lauren, alternating between desperate apologies and bitter accusations. I am sorry for everything. Please forgive me. Followed by, you never really loved me anyway. And then I will do anything to keep the house. Followed by, you were always jealous of me. I silenced the phone. Today was for rebuilding our little family unit, for establishing new traditions, and finding joy in simple things. We spent the day in pajamas building snow people in the backyard, making hot chocolate with extra marshmallows, and watching holiday movies. By evening, the children seemed more settled, the shock of Christmas morning receding into a childhood memory that I hoped would fade with time. After they were in bed, I sat alone with a cup of tea, finally allowing myself to fully process everything. The tears came then. For the sister I had loved, for the family bonds fractured, for the grandmother who would have been heartbroken to see her precious house used and abused this way. Daniel called, his voice gentle. How are you really doing, Hannah? Processing, I answered honestly. Mourning. Accepting. Mom asked about you all. I told her you guys were taking a quiet day at home after Christmas. Our mother was 80 now, her health fragile. We had agreed not to tell her the full story yet, just that Lauren and Andrew were going through some personal difficulties. How much should we tell her? I asked. Let us wait until things settle. Kate says Lauren agreed to enter a treatment program after New Year's. That is good, I said, relieved, despite everything. She really does need help. You know what amazes me, Daniel said. After everything Lauren has done, you still care what happens to her. She is still my sister, I replied simply. I cannot just turn that off even if I need to keep my distance. You are a better person than most, Hannah. I shook my head, though he could not see it. No, I am just doing what Mom taught us. Family shows up even when it is hard, just in a different way now. The days between Christmas and New Year's passed in a blur of playdates for the kids, cleaning out closets and meeting with a real estate agent about Grandma Evelyn's house. Lauren remained at the property for now, with Kate keeping close watch, but the eviction date stood firm. On New Year's Eve, Daniel and Megan invited us over for an early celebration with sparkling cider for the kids and plans to watch the ball drop on television at 9 o'clock, midnight East Coast time, so the children could experience the countdown without staying up too late. As we sat around Daniel's living room, the children wearing glittery paper hats, I found myself reflecting on the year behind us and the one ahead. I have been thinking, I said to Daniel, when we had a moment alone in the kitchen, about what to do with my share of the house sale. And part of it will go toward Lauren's treatment program. Kate found a good one, but insurance will not cover all of it. Daniel looked surprised. After everything she did. I shrugged. She is sick, Daniel. The gambling, the spending, the lying, it is all part of something bigger that needs professional help. I would pay for cancer treatment if she had cancer. This is not so different. What about the rest of the money? College funds for the kids. And I hesitated. I am thinking of going back to school myself. Finishing my master's degree. There is a scholarship program for single parents, but it would only cover part of the costs. Daniel smiled, raising his glass of champagne. To new beginnings, he said, and to the strongest woman I know. I am not strong, I protested. I am just putting one foot in front of the other. That is what strength is, Hannah. Not the absence of struggle, but the persistence through it. As midnight approached on the East Coast, we gathered the sleepy children for the countdown. Emma leaned against my side, and Noah climbed into my lap. Daniel and Megan stood hand in hand nearby. 10, 9, 8. We counted together. This was not the family configuration I had imagined for myself at 35. There were missing pieces and added ones, fractures and new bonds. But it was real, and it was ours. Happy New Year, Noah shouted, throwing his paper hat into the air. Happy New Year, I echoed, hugging my children close, to new beginnings. The first week of January was bitterly cold but bright, with possibility. I met with a lawyer to finalize the sale of Grandma Evelyn's house. My heart heavy, but my resolve firm. Lauren had moved out on January 1st, as required, entering a treatment facility the following day. Kate had managed the move, packing essential items and placing the rest in storage. Do you want to walk through the house before we list it? The real estate agent asked. There is some damage that needs repair first. I stood in the driveway, looking at the craftsman-style home, where we had spent so many happy childhood hours with Grandma Evelyn. Her flower beds were neglected. Now the porch swing gone, but I could still see echoes of what it had been. No, I said finally. Just take photos for the insurance claim. I will trust your assessment for the repairs. Some places were better left as memories. That evening, I sat down with Emma and Noah at our kitchen table, construction paper and markers spread before us. We are going to make vision boards, I explained. Pictures of what we want our new year to look like. What is happening with Aunt Lauren's house? Emma asked, carefully selecting a blue marker. It is not Aunt Lauren's house, I corrected gently. It was Grandma Evelyn's house, and it belongs to Uncle Daniel, Aunt Lauren, and me together. We are going to sell it. Where will Aunt Lauren live? Noah asked, looking concerned. Right now, she is at a special hospital that helps people who are having a hard time, I explained. After that, she will probably find an apartment of her own. Is she still mad at us? Emma persisted. I put down my marker, giving her my full attention. Aunt Lauren is not mad at you or Noah. She has a sickness that made her make bad choices and say hurtful things. Like when you have a very high fever and get cranky and say things you do not mean. Noah considered this. But worse. Yes, buddy. But worse. And it takes longer to get better. Will we see her again? Emma asked quietly. Yes, but not right away. She needs time to get better first. We returned to our vision boards. I watched as Emma drew pictures of her school, our house, and what looked like graduation caps. Noah covered his paper with dinosaurs, our family stick figures, and what appeared to be a swimming pool. Is that our new pool? I asked, amused. No, it is swim lessons, he explained seriously. I am going to learn to swim without floaties this year. I smiled, adding my own images to my board, a graduation cap for my return to school books representing knowledge and a small house with a garden. Why are you drawing school stuff? Mom, Emma asked, peering at my board. Because I am going back to school too, to get an advanced degree so I can become a reading specialist. Emma's eyes widened. You are going to be a student like me? Yes, except I will go at night when you are sleeping. And on weekends sometimes. Who will take care of us then? Noah looked worried. Uncle Daniel and Aunt Megan will help sometimes. And I have applied for a special program that provides childcare for parent students. I had spent the past week researching programs, filling out applications, and calculating budgets. The sale of Grandma's house would provide a cushion, but careful planning was still essential. Will we be okay without Aunt Lauren? Emma asked suddenly. The question caught me off guard. Of course we will. Why do you ask that? Emma shrugged. She always said she helped us a lot, that we needed her. I felt a flash of anger at how Lauren had positioned herself to my children, but kept my voice calm. We love Aunt Lauren, and we miss the good times with her. But our family, you, me, and Noah, we are strong together. We have Uncle Daniel and Aunt Megan too. And we have friends and neighbors who care about us. Like a community, Noah supplied, carefully coloring a dinosaur purple. Exactly like a community, I agreed. Family comes in many forms. January turned to February. I was accepted into the master's program with a partial scholarship, and the sale of Grandma's house was proceeding smoothly. Daniel reported that Lauren was doing well in treatment, acknowledging her gambling addiction and working with therapists on her underlying issues. On Valentine's Day, Kate arranged a supervised visit with Lauren at the treatment facility. I was apprehensive, but determined to show my children that difficult relationships could be faced with courage and compassion. The facility was pleasant but clinical, with motivational posters on the walls and the faint smell of disinfectant. Lauren looked different. Thinner, less polished, her designer clothes replaced by simple jeans and a sweater, but her eyes were clearer than I had seen in years. Thank you for coming, she said, her voice small. The children were shy at first, clinging to my hands as we sat in the visiting room. I had prepared them, explaining that Aunt Lauren was getting help for being sick, but that it was a different kind of sickness that made people make bad choices. I brought you something, Noah said, finally holding out a card he had made. Lauren took it with trembling hands. Thank you, Noah. It is beautiful. It is a get well card, he explained. Mom says you are getting better. I am trying, Lauren replied, looking at me with uncertain eyes. The visit was awkward, but necessary. Lauren apologized to the children for Christmas morning, explaining in simple terms that she had been very confused and made a mistake. She did not make excuses or try to minimize what had happened. I am sorry I hurt your feelings, she told them. It was not your fault. You did nothing wrong. Before we left, Lauren asked to speak with me alone. Kate took the children to see the facility's small garden courtyard. "I owe you so much more than an apology," Lauren began, her voice cracking. "But it is where I have to start. I am so sorry, Hannah. For everything." "I know you are," I said simply. "The therapists here are helping me understand why I did what I did. The gambling, the spending, the lies. I was trying to fill something empty inside me, and I was so jealous of you." Of me, I could not keep the surprise from my voice. "Lauren, I am a widowed mother of 2 living paycheck to paycheck, wearing Target clothes." "You are loved," she said simply. "By the kids, by Daniel, by Mom, by everyone who knows you. You have this inner peace. Even after James died, I kept waiting for you to fall apart, to fail. And when you did not, I resented you even more." I was speechless, trying to reconcile this view of me with my own internal experience of constant struggle and uncertainty. "The hardest part of recovery," Lauren continued, "is making amends while accepting that forgiveness is not guaranteed. I know I may have damaged our relationship beyond repair, but I want you to know I am truly sorry, and I am working hard to change. I appreciate that," I said carefully, "and I want you to get better, Lauren, truly. But trust takes time to rebuild, especially where my children are concerned." "I understand," she nodded, wiping away tears. "Can I ask about the house?" "We have accepted an offer. The sale should close next month." Lauren nodded again. "Kate told me you are using part of your share for my treatment. Why would you do that after what I did?" "Because you are my sister," I said simply. "And because you are sick. The Lauren I grew up with is still in there, somewhere underneath the addiction and the pain." As we drove home, the children were unusually quiet, processing the visit in their own ways. "Aunt Lauren looks different," Emma finally said. "She does," I agreed. "Getting better sometimes changes how people look on the outside, too." "She said sorry," Noah observed. "Real sorry, not fake sorry like when I broke Emma's crayon." I smiled despite myself. Yes, it seemed like a real apology. "Are you still mad at her?" Emma asked. I considered this. I am not mad anymore. I am sad about what happened, and I am cautious about the future. But I want Aunt Lauren to get better and be happy. "Like when Daddy died," Emma said. "You were sad, but you said we could still be happy too." My heart swelled with love for my perceptive daughter. "That is right, sweetie. Different feelings can exist at the same time." In March, Daniel and Megan announced their engagement, a bright spot of joy in our healing family. They planned a small September wedding, with Emma as flower girl and Noah as ring bearer. "You are my best person," Daniel told me, when he asked me to stand up with him at the ceremony. "Not just my best sister, but my best friend." Spring arrived, bringing with it new growth and possibilities. With the house sale complete, I enrolled in summer courses to jumpstart my master's program. The children were excited about summer day camp, which my program subsidized for student parents. One rainy Saturday, I decided it was time for another kind of clearing out. The children helped me bring down boxes of James's things that I had kept stored in the attic, unable to face them after his death. "This was Daddy's favorite sweatshirt," I told Noah, holding up the soft gray hoodie that still somehow smelled faintly of James's cologne. "Would you like to have it? You could use it as a sleep shirt for now, and it will fit you properly someday." Noah hugged the sweatshirt to his chest, nodding solemnly. Emma found James's collection of science fiction novels. "Can I read these when I am older?" "Of course," I smiled. "He would love that you want to." At the bottom of one box, I found an envelope addressed to me in James's handwriting. With trembling fingers, I opened it. Inside was a letter he had written when Emma was a newborn. "My dearest Hannah," it began, "today I watched you rock our daughter to sleep, and I was overwhelmed by the treasure of our family. Whatever the future holds, know that the home you create, the love you give so freely, is the greatest gift. Family is not just blood or name, but the daily choice to love, forgive, and grow together." I wiped away tears as I finished reading. Even from beyond, James had given me exactly the words I needed to hear. "Are you okay, Mom?" Emma asked, looking concerned. I pulled both children into a hug. "I am more than okay. I am grateful for our family, exactly as it is." 1 year later, I sat in the back row of a classroom, frantically taking notes as my professor discussed reading intervention strategies. My first semester back at school was ending, and despite the challenges of balancing motherhood, work, and education, I felt more fulfilled than I had in years. My phone vibrated with a text from Daniel. "Everything set for Saturday." I smiled, typing back. "Already, kids are so excited." This Christmas would be different from the last. We had established new traditions: a tree decorating party with Daniel and Megan, now 3 months married, cookie baking with neighbors, volunteer work at the local community center. The children had adapted to our new normal, with the resilience that still amazed me daily. Lauren had completed her inpatient treatment program and was now living in a small apartment, working part-time at a bookstore and attending regular support meetings. Her recovery was steady but not without setbacks. We had established careful, boundaried contact, monthly supervised visits with the children, weekly phone calls, and family therapy sessions when needed. The sale of Grandma Evelyn's house had given us all fresh starts in different ways. My portion had secured our new apartment, funded my education, and helped with Lauren's treatment. Daniel and Megan had used theirs for a house down payment. Lauren had paid debts and established a modest nest egg for her new beginning. As I packed up my books after class, my professor stopped me. "Hannah, that paper you wrote on trauma-informed approaches to literacy, it was exceptional. Have you considered publishing it in the Education Journal?" I blushed, still unused to academic recognition. "Thank you. I will think about it." "You bring a unique perspective," she continued. "Your experience as both teacher and parent gives your work authenticity." Driving home, I reflected on how different my life looked now, compared to a year ago. The pain of last Christmas had not disappeared, but it had transformed into something useful: wisdom, boundaries, and a deeper understanding of both human frailty and strength. Emma and Noah were waiting at the after-school program, bundled in winter coats and bursting with news about their day. "I got an A on my science project," Emma announced proudly. "And I made a new friend," Noah added. "His name is Tyler, and he likes dinosaurs too." "That is wonderful," I told them both, signing them out and heading to our car. "How about hot chocolate when we get home?" Our apartment was small but cozy, filled with family photos and the children's artwork. We had moved here after selling Grandma's house, choosing a place closer to their school and my university. Though modest, it was truly ours, a safe harbor we had created together. As the children changed into comfy clothes, I started dinner and checked my calendar for the weekend. Saturday would be our Christmas gathering, not on the actual holiday, which was still a week away, but a special family day nevertheless. Daniel and Megan would host at their new house. Mom would be there, having moved to a senior living community nearby, where she was thriving with new friends and activities. And Lauren would join us for dessert, a short, defined visit that she had earned through consistent therapy and honest amends. The journey to this point had not been easy. There had been tearful therapy sessions, angry words, painful realizations on all sides. Lauren had written formal amends letters to each of us, acknowledging the specific harms she had caused without excuses or expectations. She had made financial restitution where possible and accepted the consequences of her actions. For my part, I had learned to set and maintain boundaries without guilt. I had discovered that forgiveness did not require forgetting or pretending harm had not occurred. It meant freeing myself from the burden of resentment while still protecting my children and myself from future hurt. "Mom, can we wear our new sweaters on Saturday?" Emma asked, coming into the kitchen. "Of course," I smiled. "Aunt Lauren will be coming for dessert. Remember?" Emma nodded seriously. "I made her a card at school, to show I am glad she is better." "That is very kind of you, sweetie." "Will she stay at our house someday again?" Noah asked, joining us. I knelt to his level. Not for sleepovers, not right now, but we will keep having these visits, and if things continue to go well, we can do more together in the future. He seemed satisfied with this answer. The children had been remarkably adaptive to our new family configuration, perhaps because I had been honest with them, throughout, in age-appropriate ways. Saturday arrived bright and cold. We drove to Daniel and Megan's house, with presents and food, the car filled with Christmas music and excited chatter. Uncle Daniel said they have a real fireplace, Noah exclaimed. With a chimney for Santa, Emma added, though at 9, she was beginning to question the Santa story. Daniel and Megan's home was warm and welcoming, decorated with simple but elegant holiday touches. Mom was already there helping Megan arrange appetizers. There are my precious ones, Mom exclaimed, hugging the children. At 81 she was frailer, but still spirited, her mind sharp and her love boundless. The afternoon passed in a blur of good food, games, and conversation. I watched my mother laughing with Daniel, my children playing with the puppy Megan and Daniel had recently adopted, and felt a profound sense of peace. At 4 o'clock the doorbell rang. Lauren stood on the porch holding a bag of carefully wrapped packages, her expression nervous but hopeful. "Merry Christmas," she said softly as Daniel let her in. There was an initial awkwardness, but it dissipated as Lauren sat with the children admiring Emma's card and asking Noah about his swim lessons. She had worked hard in therapy to learn how to have authentic interactions rather than performing perfect family member or competitive sister roles. "These are for you," she told the children, presenting simple, thoughtful gifts, books chosen with their interests in mind, not the extravagant electronics or designer clothes she would have selected in the past. When the children went to play with their new gifts, Lauren joined me in the kitchen where I was making coffee. "Thank you for including me today," she said. "I know it is still a work in progress." "You have been doing the work," I acknowledged. "We all see that." "I have news," she said, a tentative smile forming. "I applied to community college. Starting in January, I will be taking accounting classes." "Lauren, that is wonderful." "It is just 2 classes to start while I keep working at the bookstore, but it feels good to have a direction again, a real one, not based on appearances." As we carried coffee to the living room, Daniel called for everyone's attention. "Megan and I have an announcement," he said, his arm around his wife's waist. "We are expecting a baby in June." The room erupted in joyous exclamations. Mom wiped away happy tears. Emma and Noah danced around, excited about a cousin. I hugged Daniel and Megan, genuinely thrilled for their happiness. Lauren waited until the initial excitement calmed, then approached them with a genuine smile. "Congratulations! You two will be amazing parents." I watched this moment, noting how different it was from the old Lauren, who would have found a way to make someone else's news about herself or compete with it somehow. Later, as Lauren prepared to leave at the agreed-upon time, she handed me a small package. "Just something small," she said. "Open it later." After she left the evening, continued with dinner and more celebration. When we finally headed home, the children drowsy in the back seat, I felt a contentment that had nothing to do with perfect circumstances and everything to do with authentic connection. At home, after tucking the children in, I opened Lauren's gift. It was a simple silver frame containing a photo I had never seen before. Lauren, Daniel, and me as children, arms around each other, grinning widely on Grandma Evelyn's porch swing. On the back, Lauren had written, "Family is always worth fighting for, even when the person you are fighting is yourself. Thank you for not giving up on me. Love, Lauren." I placed the frame on my bedside table, a reminder of where we had been and how far we had come. The journey had been painful, the wounds deep, but healing was possible when truth, boundaries, and genuine amends worked together. This Christmas would not be perfect. No holiday ever was, but it would be real, grounded in honest relationship, rather than performance or pretense. We had weathered a storm that could have destroyed us, and instead found our way to a new shore, stronger for the crossing. As I prepared for bed, I thought about the lessons this difficult year had taught me. That sometimes love means setting firm boundaries, that forgiveness is a process, not a moment, that family can break and still be rebuilt, though perhaps in a new configuration, that my children were watching and learning from how I handled both injury and healing. Most of all, I had learned that courage is not the absence of fear, but the determination to face difficult truths and make hard choices even when they break your heart. Motherhood had taught me this courage, forced me to find it when I thought I had nothing left to give. I thought of those confused children at IHOP last Christmas, trying to understand why their aunt had turned them away. And I thought of them now secure in the knowledge that family love could survive even the deepest hurts, that boundaries were acts of care, not punishment, and that sometimes the family we rebuild is stronger than the one we lost. What difficult family situation have you faced during the holidays? How did you protect your children's hearts while navigating adult conflicts? Share your experience in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please like and subscribe for more stories about family healing and resilience. Remember that setting boundaries is an act of love both for yourself and for others. Thank you for spending this time with me, and may your holidays be filled with authentic connection and peace.